Hey, Popcorn Talk fans. Today we talk about and dissect whether or not Connor actually has a penis and other such major issues as we dissect Popstar, Never Stop, Never Stopping on Anatomy of a Movie. Stay tuned.
Welcome to Popcorn Talk, featuring movie discussion, news, and interviews. Popcorn Talk. We talk movies. And now, here's Popcorn Talk's Anatomy of a Movie.
That's right, ladies and gentlemen. We had to open it with something irreverent as we do Popstar, the Lonely Island movie. That's right, we're very humble. We have Demetri Panos, the most humble man alive.
Yeah, thank you. Hello, movie fans. How are you? Good seeing you again.
We have a returner, Stephanie Wenger. Not a regular, but always a fun time when she's around.
Yeah, thank you. So glad to be here.
And of course, Marisa Serafini.
I'm here again.
That's right. And the one person, you guys kind of know him, Jeff Graham. He is the person who, of all people, should have been at this panel, but he is not. So, you know what, Jeff Graham? Shame on you.
Bully for you, buddy.
Instead, you get Phil Svitek. Thanks, Zach, for killing the music on that one.
There you go.
And of course, we have that Zach Wilson in the booth engineering for us today. All right, let's start with overall impressions for this movie. But also, real quick, as you guys know, Anatomy of a Movie, we are very spoiler-filled, so if you haven't seen this movie, the good news is, this one, you can't get spoiled too much. On the other side, feel free to download our rundown. It's in the description, so that way you can always kind of follow along with us as we talk about the movie. Let's start with you, Demetri. Overall thoughts for Popstar.
You know, I felt this movie, I think it is to pop music what This Is Spinal Tap did to metal rock and roll music. Many years later, lots of generational gap. I found this movie to be highly enjoyable. Adam Samberg and his team have, you can tell they have an affinity towards pop music. And it really showed in this movie. I felt that it was a great mockumentary, satire mockumentary. Never overstayed its welcome, which is great for this type of a movie. I found it very funny. One of the funnier movies I've seen this summer. And I think all in all, I think it works.
Absolutely. Stephanie?
I liked it more than I thought I was going to. I'm kind of picky about my comedies, and sometimes I think that they take the easy route and kind of go for cheap humor, and this really felt like it was of the moment and really funny, and I love everything pop culture, and it was basically a giant satire of that, so I really enjoyed it.
There you go. I went into this film with low expectations, and I came out laughing. So it looked funny just from the trailers, and whenever you have like fun songs and then they're so big you can easily make fun of them, that's always fun to watch. I liked the cameos, and it was a short movie, and it was just short enough to enjoy it. It wasn't long, it wasn't overextended. It was just a fun, ridiculous movie, and that's exactly what I got out of it.
Yeah, I mean, aside from, it's one of the tougher things. Like, how do you change this type of mockumentary type of format for music? It's always going to be the same type of format, but I thought they did really well within that rigid structure. I thought it was absolutely hysterical, and it takes some sort of demented genius to be able to take, like, The Finest Girl and what the U.S. did with Bin Laden and say, here is the concept of a great song, and just run with it. I loved all the songs. I thought they were great and brilliant, and it's just genius. So I applaud them for what they did, and it really comes from a place of love. And I thought everyone involved, from all the cameos, they really pulled in a lot of favors. But at the same time, I think a lot of the people just wanted to be a part of this movie. So I thought they nailed it.
Yeah, I mean,
kudos to them.
Almost to the point they were almost too loving of their subject matter. Almost to the point, like, it would have been, we were talking before the show started about, Adam Sandberg's Connor. Andy, I'm sorry, was a dick. And I was like, he wasn't dicky enough. Like, there wasn't a time where he pulled the Justin Bieber, I'm going off social media, I don't want to be in the limelight, or he wasn't throwing eggs at people's houses and things like that. I almost wanted it to go that far. And again, I'm holding this up to Spinal Tap because there really aren't that many movies that are like Popstar, which is holding a mirror up to this Popstar culture that we have going on right now. Still found it to be extremely funny. I did laugh a lot, and I'm wondering 10, 20 years from now, we can, people will look at this and go, wow, they really nailed it. They got it right.
Well, let's talk about it. So, you mentioned Justin Bieber. This was based on the documentary with Bieber, and it was based off of also One Direction, both movies that I did not see.
I saw both of them, so I am fully aware of both these films, and you do get a sense of that when you're watching it. And but to go back to what you were saying with Andy, I think that part of the reason the movie worked is that he's likable. If you had a guy who it was kind of a nightmare to watch for an hour and a half, you would want to leave that theater. You would just be like, this is so annoying. Where Andy, even through being like, clearly he wants fame, and that's a lot of what you see with Bieber, like, he still is this likable guy underneath it all, and you know him from Saturday Night Live, and all of that kind of comes through in the film.
Yeah, my thing about that is unlikable can be equally as funny and uncomfortable. And that's why I thought if you're going to go this route, it was almost too much love. I get it, and they obviously took very much time and detail in doing that, but unlikable can be very funny as well.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of agree with that. I like the fact that we started this film with his character already on top, and that was his establishment, that he was already successful, fun, and ridiculous to a certain extent, and then we slowly learned that he came from a more humble background, and so that allowed the audience, like, hey, he was a nice guy, he came from, like, nothing, he started off with nothing, so, like, he has the potential to be a better person. And I think that helped with his character.
Well, they also started out in Bieber's documentary. He's like playing the drums at 3 or 4 years old, and you see him like baby Connor playing the drums. So there were definitely things, if you saw those documentaries, that pulled out to.
Give us a quick recap of the Bieber documentary, just so we have a base of what we're working with.
Sure. I think there have actually been 2 Bieber documentaries, but I only saw the first one. And it was about his rise to fame, essentially starting in Canada and then taking you through, I believe, performing at Madison Square Garden, and his run through to kind of having his own arena and tour from like performing on the streets of Canada.
Got it. Yeah. And so it's what age does it end at, that one?
I think he's 17, 18, that type.
Okay.
Yeah, it's been a while, but 17, 18.
So obviously, in terms of Connor years, obviously still very much younger, because then Connor continues past that age, very much so.
And let's face it, too, these types of pop documentaries, they're puff pieces to try to, make these people look like they're better citizens than they can be in real life. We've had the One Direction. And again, I'm not slandering their character. Bieber puts himself out there. He is what it is. One Direction, again, I'm not slamming these people, but there's been the One Direction. There's a Katy Perry. Beyonce had something on HBO not too long ago. Like, these are seemingly almost like the norm. Like, these pop bands have to have some semblance.
Michael Jackson did one, too.
Katy Perry had one.
Yeah.
And then that's Andy kind of talks about that was they were because of all these documentaries as they were coming to rise. This is a concept that they were toying around for almost 10 years, and then eventually led to let's talk with Judd about kind of mocking this up and doing our own version of it based off everything that's going on. So you're correct in that sense.
We forgot Miley Cyrus was another one as well. That so these making fun of that outside of just making fun of, to me it was because I haven't watched any of those documentaries. I don't even really listen to that kind of music, other than the fact I know it exists. I've heard the songs playing somewhere in the background. And because I do listen to the Howard Stern show, there's always a rundown of the top 5 Billboard hits of songs that I don't hear, and that's the only place I've heard them, so at least I can get the reference there. But this is also a satire on pop culture of today. So as much as making fun of the songs, I just looked at it as pure out mockumentary satire of the rise, fall, and re-rise of Connor.
Yeah, I think Andy Samberg on... a Late Show, I want to say it was, talked about that it wasn't just about Bieber, that it's definitely of the whole pop culture and the social media age that we live in, and that everything has to be documented like on our own social media channels. It's not good enough to like have a private life.
Yeah, and I liked how they used that, and then Snapchat and Twitter, and to build his fans, just how crazy people can be in today's society, and how fast people can blow up because of social media.
Yeah, what did you guys in terms of the core message or scene or anything like that? Like, what did you guys gravitate to most out of this? Because there's so much to be able to pick from. So I'm kind of curious as to what stood out for you the most.
I like the fact that he was always surrounded by, his friends and coworkers and whatnot. Despite everything that happened, you can always tell that he had loyal friends and who were just there going through all the triumphs and tribulations of his. I like the fact that he was constantly surrounded up until the point where he was by himself in his Sacramento house or wherever he went back to.
Sacramento.
but he had people to go through this whole journey with. Yeah. Rather than on his own.
I really liked that it was, you kind of saw his rise and then fall, obviously. And I think there were all these kind of moments that if you follow pop culture, you could point out and be like, oh, that is definitely in reference to this. And it was kind of fun Easter eggs all through the movie to figure out who they were referring to, essentially, because a lot of it was references in the last 5 years to things that have happened.
Yeah, for me, it was strictly the satire of it all. Making the fun of this pop culture, not pop culture, pop music. Pop culture is a big part of pop music, but it was really, to me, it was pointed about pop music, its popularity, and how silly it can be when you break it down. And I loved the fact that they did get so many cameos on board to come, because they made this a mockumentary that's rooted in reality. There are all of these. There was a bunch of pop stars in this movie that were having fun with this as well. And I actually kind of gained a new respect for some of these people because they get it. They get why this is funny.
They're self-aware.
They're self-aware.
Yeah.
So for me, it was the satire and that comedy that made this movie.
And I like the shift in the business. At its core, there was that side of it that the business is changing, and as silly as this is, everyone's looking for that answer of how to stay relevant and so forth. And in some ways, perhaps not. You lose their humanity. But again, just the silliness of it all. Initially in the movie, it starts off with Aquaspin, right? And because you try to stand out in some sort of different way. You try to take a chance. You try to be different because you just almost have to be. The old traditional model does not work. And then rather than be applauded for it, which again, it's a very 50-50 shot. Something can work or something doesn't. You just have to believe that it does. But in this case, it doesn't.
But
I like
isn't
the whole
that a double-edged sword, the whole Aquaspin thing. Because in order for it to short out an entire country, that means people buy it. That's a lot of people having their Aquaspin, and they're all using it at the same time. That to me was the irony of it all. It's and then he all of a sudden becomes the bad guy for it. Well, you bought it.
Yeah, I like the idea, just the idea of the Aquaspin, because it was, we're always saying that in today's society, technology is always advancing.
Yeah.
And the fact that they actually use everyday appliances, and that was their biggest technological advance, just putting music with their everyday appliances. I thought that was funny, just for the idea of that's how their technology advanced. Just music.
I agree with you. It was funny. I was with a friend though, and she was talking about she does something else in the industry, and she goes, "It shows how little music sales means to these people though, just because he's giving his music for free on these appliances that are in people's homes. It's all about touring." And I was like, that's a whole other layer to this that you don't even think about. It is talking about that business model and how it's so changing for artists. It used to be all about album sales, and now it's about touring, what have you. But I did wonder if this movie, and I didn't get there's no way to get an answer to this, maybe tweet at us or what have you, but if outside the industry, this movie played as well as it did like I saw it with two friends who are in the industry, and
Yeah, I mean, in general, the movie just didn't. Right, we'll talk about box office, but it just tanked.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
unfortunately.
But see, I'm taking the other thing that need be said about this whole Aquaspin thing, though. That again, I took this as being a very pointed satire to when U2 tried to release their song. Well, they released an album on iTunes.
That they did,
and
yeah.
people got pissed off because this landed on their iTunes. Like, it was a free album, and people could have deleted it, but people got so pissed off at that. And that, again, to me, this whole Aquaspin, not only was it because we've got a silly sponsor, because now everything needs to be sponsored like a NASCAR race. People are pissed off that it's on the thing, but it's like you bought it where people didn't buy the U2 thing. It just showed up. And they had the option that you could listen to it or try to delete it.
Showed up in my iTunes.
Yeah,
I have
showed
a
up in
question.
everybody's.
I couldn't find this, but was Aquaspin a sponsor of the movie?
I don't think there's such thing
I
as
don't
Aquaspin.
think there
I
is.
think
It seems like a real thing.
It looked like a real thing, but I think they just couldn't
It's
use
believable.
Whirlpool.
It's believable.
Oh.
I think it's that like people already had like the idea was that people already had Aquaspin like ovens and like equipment in their homes, and then the music would like stream into the like ovens, that the oven would play the music. I think it's not so much that they bought the album, it's that they like that it was streaming from these devices.
Yeah, I think it's like maybe Aquaspin was their version of LG, you know?
yeah,
Whirlpool.
Pretty much.
exactly.
Absolutely. So, and in that regard, it transcends, because I do think from a tech standpoint, we put so much effort into like the dumbest of things technology-wise when we could be saving lives, but we aren't. Let's see. One of the aspects, right, that I think worked well was the relationship. I thought they set up the Style Boyz really well,
Yes.
and they kept hitting on that multiple times, and at no point did it become too much, at least for me, of like, okay, they got to get back together. That and that's what's going to save this. I thought it progressed quite naturally in that respect. What did you guys think of the Style Boyz?
I mean, I loved it. It's so fun and just like silly. But I have to say that I'm not going to spoil the end of the movie, but I don't think it comes as a shock to anyone. Like, was it surprising to anyone at this table?
No, I
No.
knew as soon as they broke up that this was going to be the journey back to them getting back together.
Yeah.
And kind of getting
yeah.
back to his humble roots,
Right.
In that way. I like the fact that they were making fun of Beastie Boys was definitely a big inspiration. But then even their wardrobe changes throughout and how they evolved and grew up essentially kind of together. That they kind of turned from Style
Style
Boys to like Boys to Men.
Right.
They grew up even with their wardrobes, like they were casual hoodies and jeans to like suits and whatnot. So.
And when you think of it, though, whether it's pop music, rock music, or whatnot, usually the big bucks again will start rolling in. Like, you have a group, they were very popular at the time. Group breaks up, people go off on their own, and then that simmers down. Then said old original group gets back together again, and they're back in the limelight. It happened with the Eagles, it's happened with the Police, it's happened with many rock groups that when you want to, hey, I need some more money.
Well,
you need more
it's
together.
happening now. I
Yeah.
mean, Backstreet Boys got back together, and we had O-Town back together, and like even big tours. A lot
Spice
of
Girls.
'90s
Spice Girls.
kids on the block are back
they never
together.
broke
So
up.
like,
They've been
but
touring since they were 10.
pop groups are coming back together and
Yeah,
touring again, and I
absolutely.
think that was definitely a testament to that too.
Yeah. Yeah. The only ones I don't see coming back anytime soon might be In Sync.
No.
Well, I mean, to talk about Justin Timberlake, who makes an amazing cameo in
Yeah.
this movie, like, he's somebody who's obviously understands, is very self-aware, and is friends with the Lonely Island guys, and I thought he did a great job in his cameo, and you knew he was going to be in this movie, but to put him in the way they did, I really appreciate it.
Yeah, I loved him as the chef of trying to cut the carrots softly.
I was gonna cut soft.
But then, the whole Katy Perry, because I think it was a Katy Perry reference to the shark from the Super Bowl. Guys, I was the shark. I thought that worked really, really well.
Yeah.
And then we had his fun singing too. So.
Yeah, and he sang so well, and it's like and I think I've heard an interview with Andy Samberg where he talks about that Justin can obviously sing much better than he can, so to have this guy who can like out-sing Connor in the end in the shark outfit was so random but so fun.
And so ironic too.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Absolutely. One of my more favorite bits was CMZ.
Amazing.
Oh yeah. Oh my god.
Oh my god, my theater was like cracking up every time CMZ came on screen.
Yeah.
Because I applaud what TMZ's kind of done. I think in terms of their production value and how easy it is to make that show, I think they've done brilliantly and whatnot. But again, I don't know how self-aware they are or whatnot, but it was just, to me, it was funny with the Cubs and everything.
The Cubs, the laughing, Will Arnett.
Yeah.
Again, we just talked about him in Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I mean, he was great. And then see when he comes around and he's drinking from everybody's cup and straw. I mean, it was again, that is great parody and satire of the time. I thought it was brilliant. That was a punch that landed right in the nose.
Yeah.
I would have loved if they threw in like the TMZ tour bus somehow, like having Connor encounter the TMZ tour bus. That was like the one moment where it's just like, this seems like something you could have done maybe in the sequel.
It should have been. It should have been in the
Missed
at the proposal.
Yeah, right? Exactly. It's just
CMZ's
like-
covering it.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I did like they were also news agnostic because they had extra, they had E, they had they didn't have TMZ, but they had CMZ.
Yeah.
Who else did they didn't have access? I don't think, or ET.
No.
But they try to incorporate as many as possible.
Yeah.
This movie was produced by Universal, though, right? So they had access to E and, I mean, Access Hollywood would be that.
They
too.
should have had access to that.
And they also had, Jimmy Fallon on this as
so
well.
they definitely used their connections, their company, which makes perfect sense. You're
Why
not
was-
going to promote another entertainment news.
Why was Jimmy's finger?
Oh, because
I think
his-
that was the old taping. You're
Yeah.
like
That
back
was his
when
accident that he
Yeah.
had earlier this year.
Yeah, he
Yeah.
did something with his wedding ring, I think.
Yeah.
so that was a legit injury of his
Yeah.
during taping.
Interesting. Good to know. Let's Sarah Silverman as the publicist.
Yeah.
And you know what? She was funny because I feel like a lot of her things. I mean, I like her every once in a while because I feel like she can be over the top, but that's her personality. That's what she does. But I think her character in this was like just enough to make me laugh.
I agree. I also felt like she was the only person who had any semblance of truth with Connor. Like, she was able to tell him a little bit no. I don't think she was fully saying no to him, but it said some no. Like, he had so many yes men around him. It was like throwing a basketball that was nowhere near. And, and she was able to actually be like, no, Connor, you're not doing everything.
She also gave us the reason why, because her line is, paraphrasing, I don't listen to this music, but apparently it makes a lot of people a lot of money.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, so she wasn't gonna push too hard to stop it, and when things were going a little bit off track, that's when she had a little bit more leeway to be like, all right, enough with this crap because it's clearly not working.
Yeah.
There was a vested interest in there to now make more money.
Yeah, and publicists can be such an easy target to make fun of, and I think Sarah Silverman played it right. Again, I have to go back to Fran Drescher as the publicist, and this is Spinal Tap. A breakthrough, like that was a breakout role for her. She was hysterical. And this role, you can see that through line as to Sarah Silverman playing the publicist here and having a line like, I don't really listen to this music all that much, but it makes a lot of money for people. And you could see a publicist saying that. And at the same time, I thought Sarah Silverman was really good in this role. She was
Yeah, she was
very
just
funny,
enough.
very funny.
She
She didn't play a caricature like Fran Drescher's was a little bit more caricature of the publicist of the time, but I actually thought Silverman did a really good job.
Yeah, and you can definitely hear her comedy of her own self in that, like, clinical
Absolutely.
depression. Like, that's definitely her.
Yeah.
I thought that was a great goal. I wanted to be like Air.
Everywhere.
That was absolutely genius. What cameos did you guys like most? I mean, obviously the biggest one you could say is Seal.
See, I loved Pink because, I mean, she was big in, or she just had a big hit song for Alice in Wonder, or Through the Looking Glass and whatnot. But I think Pink is just an awesome artist in and of herself. And then the fact that she just showed up randomly in Equal Rights music video, I'm like, what are you doing here, Pink? But you're cool, so I'll take it.
But what's great about that is, like, the final shot of that video, she has a look on her face like, what the hell am I doing here? Like, what am I like, what? What are you talking about? It's like it just dawned on her what the lyrics of the song were. Yeah. And that to me was the punctuation point of that video.
You're on a unicorn. Did you not figure that out yet?
I also thought Adam Levine was literally the most random thing you could possibly do with a hologram of him, because why is he a hologram? He's still alive. Like, okay. And then I also really enjoyed Emma Stone just because I always just appreciate anything she's in.
Let's talk about that because it was shot up.
Usher to me, I mean, because he was, I got a donkey roll. Like, it was my dream. And he was just
well, the cool thing is, like, Usher, he's known for a lot of dance music videos and whatnot. He's a big dancer, and a lot of them blow up because of dance moves and stuff.
Also, he is part of the management team for Bieber, so that was interesting. Yeah. Like, he's on, I think his record label.
It's like the one who discovered Bieber.
Yeah, exactly. Like, signed Bieber early in his career, so it's interesting to have him in it. So they were all in on the fun of this. Yeah. It's not like they were attacking.
It would have been fun to have Bieber there.
Like a cameo from Bieber.
Yeah, just, you know, I think because that would have been the staple of it. I don't know if he was asked. I don't know if whatever. But that would have kind of just proven at least a little bit something that he is self-aware enough to have laughter about his own self.
Has there been any comment from him at all about this movie, or does he even know it exists?
Right now, I think he's still punched out from the Cleveland game.
Yeah. And TMZ covered that, which was, you know, when I saw that, I think I was coming out of this movie and literally saw that coverage and was like, oh, it's really full circle. It's a really interesting.
I'm proud to say that I have no idea what you're talking about.
He apparently was at the Cleveland Warriors game, and he was in Cleveland supporting the Warriors, and I guess he got beat up.
Well,
that's pretty much it.
You're in hostile territory, so that was on him.
Well, to be fair, no one should get beat up for supporting a team, home or away. Yeah. You know, root for your team and boo the other, you know. But, you know. Going back to the Adam Levine thing, I wanted to go back to that because obviously we talked about Universal, but that was a very big tie-in with The Voice.
Yes.
And in fact, you had notes about it. You had notes about it. I think you might have had notes. So I want to talk about that scene in particular, the way it was utilized, and Adam was utilized, in fact.
Yeah, I mean, I just thought, again, the hologram. I wasn't sure why he didn't just like come out and be Adam Levine on stage. I was a little unclear on the hologram, but yes, they're absolutely 100% a tie-in to The Voice, and they wanted that in there, and almost to the point where I wondered if they added it in, like if,
maybe. But the song, to me, the song was funny, hilarious, right? Mm-hmm. And I think as funny as it could have been just to have Adam Levine. Mm-hmm. Again, because of the overuse of holograms nowadays, I think that's funny, and especially because he is still alive. Yeah. And but ultimately, the joke you could never had Adam Levine twerking on Adam Levine unless it was hologram.
Right. True, right. That's true.
I mean, I didn't need to see that because I like Adam Levine, but I think it was
that's
also
why it's
because
funny, because that's what's funny.
I know that's why it's funny, but there was the line like Adam Levine's hologram's so expensive, and it already establishes the fact with the audience that Connor loves spending money on the most trivial shit.
Also, what I loved is later in the movie, they were like, well, all rock stars marry supermodels. And then you have Adam Levine, who, of course, is married to a supermodel. So I felt like, again, it's like that self-awareness. And that was something that I appreciated.
Yeah, it's just another gimmick on stage.
And to be fair, too, the production... in order to, because in a sense too, this is a concert film, so the production, to get an idea of the size scope, they went to a Maroon 5 concert at the LA Forum of all, or the Coliseum of all places. So I think it shows. Look, I'm not the biggest Adam Levine Maroon 5 fan, but he has a sense of humor about himself.
Definitely is.
Yeah.
And I don't watch The Voice, but it at least shows that is a fine sense of humor. And again, this whole hologram thing comes out of Coachella when they did, what was it, Tupac, 4 or 5 years ago? And this is becoming a more common type of thing that's happening within pop music. And so to poke fun at this time, I think is spot on.
By the way, was it in Begin Again that Adam Levine is also in?
Yeah.
Which I thought he did a
Yes, it
great
was.
job of being self-aware and being a musician dick.
Too
in that
much
one.
in that movie. So, but yes, agreed.
Thanks. I thought it worked, Marisa, despite
I
your
really
disdain.
don't like Adam Levine. I took the time and effort to actually edit Adam Levine out of our music intro for the show. I did.
That's
Just saying. So,
All right. Well, remind me to never have Adam Levine over for dinner.
trust me, I won't.
Let's see. Where was I going before we derailed?
Sorry.
I was going to the girlfriend, right? Emo. I've never
Imagine
seen.
Poots.
That's it from
Yeah.
from
Imogen
that awkward
Poots.
moment.
yes.
I thought she played it so well, especially with the. I love whenever comedy-wise that someone sets up like a premise that's going to a question and you think they're gonna answer that question, but they don't. And the whole thing of like, wait, do you love him because you just want to be on magazines, or you actually love? Where are we at with this?
Yes. And yes.
I thought brilliant, and obviously that came into full fruition with the Wolves and Seal and the whole proposal live on E!
Well, I mean, you see that now where somebody's like in a new relationship or they got engaged and it's like, well, they're going to be on this magazine, that this show has the exclusive, that like it's all like a media package all week about, then they're like, then it's like the first live interview on the Today Show. And so, I mean, it's like, this is 100% what that was making fun of. And like, it's kind of the way the media circus works, but it was definitely well done, especially with those wolves. Just it like took it to a whole nother level.
And
They're
I liked how
freaking dire wolves.
Yeah.
Like, it would have been funny had they had Game of Thrones cast holding the wolves back.
They were well reviewed on Yelp. Who does that? Oh my God! So many great things. Plot wise, I mean, again, very very simple plot to kind of go along with, right? I mean, is there any particular scenes that stood out to you that you guys want to discuss before we get into a couple of Easter eggs? And then overall for me, it's just going to be talking about the music.
well, I did like the concert where it started to really just all go downhill and everyone was like leaving and they were mad, things were going wrong. And
Oh yeah, when his magic trick failed.
yeah, when every single gimmick failed, and then you see that cause tension, and to create the rift between him and his coworkers and everybody. I kind of felt that was in a way real. Like, I felt that was kind of realistic.
Yeah.
Like, when things go wrong during live performances, you always blame the next person.
Right.
So, that was fun to watch because just of what they were arguing about. Because it's so ridiculous.
Yeah, I liked that, and I also liked that they had this guy who left the entertainment industry and had the farm, and then, like, I thought that actually was an interesting way of showing that there's, like, life outside of this like celebrity obsessed universe, and that there are people on a farm who have like a happy life, and I liked the balance.
Did he have
Was
a
it
happy
happy?
life though?
No,
I don't
he
think
was
he
more
had
of
a
a
happy
bitter
life.
life.
I
It
don't
was
know.
a bitter life.
But the fun part was, but here's
His wood carvings are great.
Yeah, this is my pop
This
award.
is my poppy.
Yeah, Pop.
Yeah, I mean it was a little bitter. You're right.
Better.
But he was self-aware enough that he knew that it sucked, but the only thing that he got out of it was just acres and acres of weed. And so that's what made it okay.
Twist at the very end. It's like, hey, look, this is what I do, and he happened to be in Denver, Colorado. So I found that to be that
all
was
places.
that was a nice twist for me. I did not see that coming at all. For me, I think that concert with Things Go Awry. But again, I apologize. I'm referencing Spinal Tap a lot because as much as that industry has changed, there's still some things that stay the same. One of the funniest parts and gags in Spinal Tap is where one of the pod that the guitarist is supposed to come out of for his guitar solo that never opens up. And here we have the electronic music cone-shaped head thing that has a light stronger than the one at the hotel in Vegas, and how he blinds everybody in the audience, and he falls down. That's hysterical to me. That was great. It's like, but that's pop music today. Putting on those silly masks, and he had a sound that. It was the loudest sound. It sounded like an invasion from Independence Day
right.
or Cloverfield for no reason other than it was just really loud. Yeah, I love that.
And I love the whole idea, right? Because everyone tries to always have a reason as to why something's going to happen or predict trends and things like that. And so the whole notion came about EDM music is really hitting with the kids, so we're gonna make this a little bit more like that. And it's something that we've kind of talked about, like when it just comes out of the idea of that it's soulless, and we talk about it a lot with movies, like, okay, you can tell whether or not a movie has been made because there was a passion behind it, or it just got made because it's going to make a lot of money. And this, this is the music equivalent version of it.
Yeah, I think also with that, you had an opening act who came in, and he was suddenly so jealous of his opening act. And you can imagine that happening because a lot of times these opening acts, I think it was One Direction and 5 Seconds of Summer. And 5 Seconds of Summer definitely had like big hits that summer. And they were starting to like amass a fan group that I don't think matched One Direction, but certainly there was like attention on them, so you can imagine those types of things. I'm not saying those specific two groups. I know,
it also happened with Taylor Swift. I mean, the guys that she was touring with, all great country artists and whatnot in and of themselves on their own right, but like she was becoming bigger than them, and they were like selling out their concerts just for her.
Yeah.
So I was like, I thought was totally believable as well. Mm-hmm. But the funny thing was his opener. He was just so strung out, crazy. Like, how is he this big?
Yeah, I was laughing when you said 5 Seconds to Summer because all I could think about was, it only takes 30 seconds to go to Mars.
Yeah.
I was like, that's great. Yeah. I love that.
That's great.
Yeah, good stuff.
Absolutely. So let's talk about the music, right? Let's spend a little bit of time on there. Production-wise, as things get inserted, just kind of throw them in as you will. Because again, the core of it, and one of the things that I was, slightly sad to know about was the fact that a lot of this music kind of got out into the world ahead of the movie, in various means and various forms, and it kind of let me down because I wanted it to be just a surprise in the movie, and then people can go to it. But to have it out there as a draw to the movie, it ruins the joke.
I mean, I get that too, but times are different. People want to ingest things so much faster now. It's like that's why there's binge watching. That's why Beyonce released a whole album all at once. People just want things now and faster. That'll make them ideally go to where they want to eventually end up.
But the fact that if you're doing an album, that's one thing. But if you're trying to sell this movie, like I do think they hurt themselves in some way of this movie because they put out too much.
I think a few probably should have been released, like just to get people interested in like this is I feel like also it wasn't promoted enough as the Lonely Island movie. Like people know Lonely Island, and this felt like you knew Andy, but I'm not sure that people identified.
Yeah, I thought it was an Andy Samberg movie.
Yeah. Right. And so I think that was probably a mistake. But to go back to the music, I think maybe one or two songs, like have it be a single from the movie, but not have it. I think I heard most of the album before I went to this movie.
Yeah, and it's funny that you say that too because Samberg was on Howard Stern like almost 2 weeks prior to this movie opening up, and they were talking about the album. I thought the movie was opening up that week, and I was like, where the hell's this movie? And it didn't get like releasing that album, which is a parody album in and of itself, I don't know. It would have behooved marketing to release a video from Popstar. Like, this is a video. This is what you're going to see in Popstar, and it's funny in its own right. But just don't give me the. I agree with you. They shouldn't have given them. They shouldn't have put out the entire thing for people to see, because then they're going to think, well, that's the movie. You know, I'm not gonna. I've got too much to put out, and then you release the album in conjunction with the movie. We release it on that opening day, and then you have. You know, there's more of a synergy. I'm not sure how much Universal really put into the marketing of this movie. It was hard to find a lot of marketing.
Well, I thought they kind of let the boys handle that on their own, right? I mean, they've literally got over 200 million subscribers on YouTube, which again, you would think that would be a draw, but it's very hard to translate an online audience and make them go outside of their undies to the actual movie.
You're right. I mean, it's further proof that social media, as far as a tracking device, you need other components to fill that up. And you just cannot rely just on that, because there is an effort to go to the movies other than just to watch something on YouTube. And if they're not fully aware, and the marketing's not really pushing... saying that this is an hysterical satire or something like that. Again, I'm in Los Angeles, so I expect to see more than if I were in Missouri, so to speak. But you know,
well, let me ask you. You know, one of the things, right? So, equal rights. Marisa loves Pink. You know, very funny movie, making fun of Macklemore there, and also, by the way, they made fun of Ryan Lewis always being the guy in the background. But that, if you just kind of heard it for the first time without the context of the movie, it's a funny song, but you're left wondering, like, wait, what do we actually make? Is this supposed to be taken serious? And in the context of the movie, what I love is the fact that everyone hates that song, you know, and that's what I like about it is the juxtaposition. It fits into a greater piece, whereas if you just hear the song, you could be taken aback.
Right.
Yeah. I think it's also just because, you know, we do have now equal rights throughout the country. I think it's very timely in that sense too. But it's just funny individually, because I didn't hear the song before I went to go see it in theaters, and when I watched it, I laughed the most out of this song compared to everything else.
Yeah, at the MTV Movie Awards, they did a live performance from Popstar, and I'm trying to remember which song it was, but
definitely wasn't Bin Laden.
No, it wasn't. I think it may have been I'm So Humble. I'm not sure, but it was interesting because, like, at the time I kind of was like, what is this? Like, I knew it was Lonely Island, but it didn't read to me as anything. I didn't really have an interest. And then what made me excited about this movie was the trailer. So I think if you're going to create a music video, it has to be something that shows, like, him partying in his mansion and then it, like, falling apart. Some song like I'm So Humble, where you can kind of get both ends of the story. Because the plot, as you mentioned, is not the selling point of this. It's everything, the cameos, the music, all of that. Like,
yeah, you know, but here I will give him credit, because oftentimes this happens in a lot of comedies, and we've kind of talked about it. Is the first third of the movie can be the funniest thing you've ever seen in your life, but due to the fact that you have to have an emotional core, the comedy starts to die out, and you know, somewhat in the second of the third, and then by the third act entirely, it's almost just playing on heart versus any comedy. And what I will applaud these guys for, they had the heart, but they also had the comedy.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Up until the very, very end, which is hard to pull off.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
So let's talk. We talked a little bit about I'm So Humble, but I think, you know, that was used heavily in marketing, just because it does, as Stephanie mentioned, set up, you know, that weight of it, like who this guy is so well.
Not humble.
Not
which
humble.
is the fun, ironic part of it. They did also promote it on The Voice, where they performed I'm So Humble as well. It's very catchy. Mm-hmm. I'd have to say it's one of my favorite ones to listen to, even though Adam Levine's in it. But it's a very catchy song and it was also heavily featured in the trailer. So like from that, it even got me to want to watch this movie.
Well, as we're talking about all this, you think like they did do a fair amount of press for it. It's not like Andy was like, oh, whatever, just release it, it'll do fine. Like laying on like, oh, we have YouTube subscribers. Like they tried to promote it, and it's just interesting that it somehow didn't translate into people walking into theaters.
Yeah. This one I'd have to re-listen, but hot new single. That's also in the movie. What did you guys think of that song?
I'm trying to remember. I think it was just like a spoken. It wasn't a spoken word thing. It's dialogue, I believe. It's not.
I'm trying to find heavily the catchphrase verse song because I thought that that notion of a catchphrase verse was to me just genius. And whoever thought of it.
Well, I mean, everybody's been doing it recently, like Nick Jonas, Taylor Swift. If you look at the artists who are at the top of the Billboard charts, those artists are doing catchphrase songs.
Give me an example, because I don't really
well,
listen to
Shake It
Nick
Off
Shake It Off
would be a prime example of that.
That's a catchphrase verse?
That's
just a catchphrase, but not a catchphrase verse.
Well, he did like 18 verses altogether,
Right.
but I think what they're talking about is done properly. I think it is just that one.
Well,
Got
I
it.
mean,
there
in
are
order
like
for there
memorable one lines that can be
and that are utilized and said about 400 times in the one song to pump it through, and that's the song that's what people come away with. What was that? What was that hot movie? What was that hot song about 2 summers ago? By
Well, what's the work song? I think Work.
Yeah.
Right?
Well,
That one that's the more recent
Rihanna.
one. It literally just says work, 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 work,
Yeah.
work.
Oh my God.
so yeah, and you have Work, Rihanna, and then I think there's also Work from Fifth Harmony. So this summer you have 2 songs that are harping on this work.
And they're not even telling you to go to work. They're telling you to have sex and go fuck.
Yeah, and then like Close with Nick Jonas. Like there's so many that are just, you hear the same word over and over again, but it doesn't work when you put 18 of those phrases into the same song. And I think that's the lesson Connor learned.
yeah.
Eh.
But apparently it worked for him because that was one of the biggest arguments and why he broke up with his, he didn't have the friendship anymore with his best friend because they were arguing who made up the catchphrase.
right.
Verse. Catchphrase verse.
Catchphrase verse.
Absolutely. Kind of jumping real fast ahead. Things in my Jeep, right? We'll go back to a few of these. I like that one because, I love the button at the end of like, I just didn't get it because I didn't have these things in my Jeep.
Right.
Couldn't relate.
Right.
So it's like, the song is actually good and catchy. It's just the items that he picked.
Well, I feel like every pop artist comes out whenever they're promoting a new album and says, oh, I made it so relatable to our fans. Like that's always every interview. It's like it's so relatable. And so this was like, well, I just didn't get it. Like why would I do that if there wasn't that's not the things in my Jeep.
Yeah, I like the mechanics of a song because it does draw you in, and it was very fast paced, and you're like, oh, these are pretty cool, and you like random lyrics thrown together but sound cool, and then how it ended, these are the things in my Jeep. We're like, what? And that's a song.
Yeah.
Absolutely. We Turn Up the Beef featuring Emma Stone. I forget who earlier said that they liked the song.
I mean, I just liked the cameo from Emma Stone. I think the song was just super random and fun and fit in with kind of the way that the beginning, those first 4 songs kind of went.
Got it. Finest Girl, the Bin Laden song. By far, my favorite song. It's very catchy. It's something that you shouldn't sing anywhere, but I find myself wanting to sing.
Yeah,
You were singing it this whole week.
Everywhere.
Let's be real.
And you know what? This is the type of girl that one can hope for in life.
Yeah.
Or a guy, if you're a girl. Or a guy, if you're a guy. No judgment here.
Equal rights here.
Anything that you guys want to say about this song?
I'm surprised we actually got pretty much a full performance of the song.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This was one of the full songs we got to hear. And it's so it's so crude, and to have that humor go on for a long time in a film, I was like, wow, they're getting away with this.
Yeah, I mean, I think again, what it just speaks again to that pop music where just make it catchy and people like, are we gonna listen? How are we gonna listen to the words? Or we're just dancing? I loved it because it was so crude. It made so much like when you listen to a lot of like you
Like
just
Terrorize
said it,
That
like,
Pussy?
Work, yeah, like you were just saying work. It's like when you listen to a lot of pop music today and the lyrics. A lot of them are about this, except they're just not saying that. They're not saying fuck Bin Laden, but it's all in, whether it's heavy innuendo, like that's why that's music. That's pop music.
Well, it's so many. Yeah, you're right. It's that, and if you actually listen to the lyrics of many pop songs, they can be crude or offensive. If you're actually really listening to it, it's just people don't spend the time. They're just like, they're hooked on the catchphrase.
Robin Thicke had a video with naked women on it. Like, right? I mean, am I like
That played for an entire summer.
an entire
Blurred Lines.
ad nauseum,
God.
Blurred Lines. There's another catchphrase song, and he had naked women in his.
That was the catch.
Yeah. So again, pop music is made to be made fun of, in this sense.
And some
But
people are
it's-
saying that this is like shooting fish in a barrel because of that fact.
But
Because it
nobody's
is.
done that though. Nobody's brought it to light, or people just still don't get the joke.
Well, I think the amazing thing is just that how gullible, or I shouldn't say gullible, but just like how receptive people are to this type of music, that we like it. We find that interest in this music, that we keep pumping this kind of music out.
It's also
because it's such a demand.
It's super mainstream. Everywhere you go, these songs are played all the time.
And I don't
Yeah.
even listen to this music.
Yeah.
But I'm able to reference a Robin Thicke song that he got sued for, and pretty much his career is over now. But in any case,
Fair enough.
Well, at least they had a song.
The other song that I found amazing was the original Basic Bitch, Mona Lisa. Because it's like, how many times does she get referenced, and
In a
parodied?
song.
So, well, not in a song. I don't know many people that are singing about Mona Lisa, but like it's such an iconic painting that just gets so overused. So I could see someone being a little bit disappointed with it. And the pyramids, right? It just gives you a different perspective. It's just dirty rocks. So it's like, like it's a different perspective on it.
But
I like
again, I felt like that was definitely a play on Bieber because he's definitely had issues. I think wasn't he at a pyramid? I'm trying to remember the news story, but he's
Probably.
been all over the world and had these issues with like the passport and being disrespectful at different historical locations. I don't remember all of them right now, and it was definitely like the pyramids. That's what it felt like. Like he was just like, oh, whatever, because there's so much history with all.
Well,
didn't he
they-
climb
they-
up one just to slide down it?
Yeah. Well, they
Making that
did
up.
make that fun reference in this movie that he took a dump in the Anne Frank house. So,
Yeah, and-
historical places not being used with reverence.
And he made reference to Ace Ventura: Pet Detective. Do not go in there, Ace Ventura. I'm like, that's great.
Argentina.
Oh,
There you go.
there we go.
Banned from Argentina. Thank you, Zach.
Yeah,
that. Poor Bieber.
yeah, it's rough.
Do you feel bad for him? No.
Now, there's nothing poor about him.
Wow. His soul.
Yeah.
His soul. I don't know. Are or aren't is the name of that one. I can't think of
I don't
which one
remember
that
that.
was.
I don't remember that.
Oh,
song.
but there was the whole joke that apparently during when they were actually filming, it was kind of an improv between Tim Meadows, his manager, and he had the news like, I have something that's good news, or it's like, you're gonna love, or you are, or you aren't going to love. And he's like, aren't. I think that was the joke off of this song.
Can we talk a little bit about Tim Meadows?
Yeah.
By the way, I thought he was brilliant in this movie. I mean, he's had a bit of a renaissance. I'm a huge fan of the Goldbergs, which he plays a supporting character on it, and he's just fantastic. So watching him in this movie, he never really got his his due, so to speak, from he was funny in Saturday Night Live, but he just never thought he got his fair share. He was always overshadowed by bigger people who became bigger talent than he is. what a funny guy, and what a great turn that he has in this movie.
Tony.
And
The fact they kick him out because of
they
that.
kicked him out. He was
He just
great
wanted
in
to be
this
different.
movie. Yep.
And just the fact that he slapped Hunter the Hungry, or Hungry the Hungry? Hunter the Hungry. That's it.
No,
Just
that
what
was a great
ridiculous-
moment.
It
Though.
was really funny. Did you see that? I don't know where that came from.
Absolutely. Speaking of Hunter the Hungry is gone eat. I think that's when they're in like the 8 Mile type
Right.
concert hall. And I love the introduction of Hunter the Hungry. He was just so like, dude, and because it always starts off that way of like, dude, you're my idol. But there's just the hint of alternative motives. Like, wait, are you fucking with me? Or are you actually for real?
Right. And I liked how they established him as like he's crazy. Like I didn't see him roll a joint, I saw him eat one. You know, it's like it's already telling the audience he's already over the top. And then when we actually meet him, it's like, no, he is crazy.
Yeah.
He has crazy eyes. He's just crazy.
Absolutely.
Funny.
And out of that came Dos Banditos.
Dos Banditos.
I like that song.
Me
That
too.
was a fun like.
The stage show for Dos Banditos was equally as funny as the song. That's the other thing too. When you put a lot of these songs it was as fun to watch them be performed. You know, like when we talk about the Adam Levine hologram, if we just heard that music, it's funny, but not as funny as what I'm watching happen on stage.
Yeah.
There's such a blow up and such a parody of what takes place at a pop show. So to watch these songs be performed in the way that they dance, I found it like the song alone just doesn't do it justice.
No.
Yeah, and I think it was also the fact that he was making fun of the language. Like, hey,
Yeah.
they pronounce S differently than
Yes.
we do, so let's make a whole song like
beef it.
that.
And it's just so funny because it's a spot. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't go that far.
It's like a lisp,
Fine,
a
yeah.
speech impediment. Like, no,
Yeah.
Dos Banditos.
you're making fun of a whole language right now.
Maybe that's why it didn't do so well in Spain. Oh man. Let's see. Ashley Wednesday, the Seal song. That was the E Live wedding proposal.
That went awry.
That was good. And I liked it because obviously it's the sing that triggered like the wolves themselves. It's not that they were a bad idea. It's just the fact that they were triggered by the singing.
By the singing.
So poor guys. Let's see. Then we had a couple. Incredible Thoughts. That to me. Now, some people's criticism is the fact that Incredible Thoughts doesn't live up to what the ending song should be like the greatest bit, right? It should live up to and be the biggest of them all. And some people think that Incredible Thoughts wasn't. I disagree.
Well, I think typically in these concert movies, that's the way it works. Is the first hour is like the story leading up to Madison Square Garden, and then you get to Bieber performing at Madison Square Garden, and then it's like this epic performance. And obviously that wouldn't work in a parody, but yeah, I think I wanted it to be a little larger, but I didn't mind it. I didn't walk away being like, oh, I'm disappointed. That wasn't the point for me.
See,
yeah.
Yeah, I wasn't disappointed at all because I think the thing that sold it for me was Michael Bolton. And
Oh my God,
And
yeah.
I think that the great thing about like if you actually pay attention to the lyrics, again, they make no sense. But
It's
if
a
you have
catchphrase verse with a sensibility to the Incredible Thoughts.
a little bit, but like if you have a big name such as Michael Bolton, he could be saying anything, reading the dictionary to you, and you think it's amazing. And I think that's what made the song even
Right.
funny because it's just Michael Bolton singing to
Yeah.
you, and I was sold. I was like, yes, I'm being serenaded by Michael Bolton right now.
So, Michael Bolton, Adam Levine.
Yes,
We like
Adam
that
Levine's
Michael
not
Bolton.
even on my list. He's somewhere over on the couch.
Again, though, it was a great reveal. Didn't see it coming at all.
No.
And it was
Yeah.
there. I mean, it was hysterical.
It automatically made the song better.
Yeah. The only thing that would have been funnier is if it might have been like Hasselhoff.
Oh my god.
That would have been too much of a
Parody, a parody within a parody.
Yeah,
Would have been a paradox.
I don't think it would have worked the same. And then, the donkey roll in terms of the Style Boys, right?
So 90s.
Amazing. There's a great instructional video. I'm going to get the entire staff to learn this. Because it's the world's easiest. It's just the
I'll
little hand, and then you put the hands
Are
up.
you gonna like
Do the
try
body
to make
roll.
it a whole thing and just like put up YouTube videos every day on AfterBuzz?
Get the body
Yeah,
roll
Stick
too.
to it.
But it reminds me of like 69 Boys, with the Tootsie Roll and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
it was very like 90s songs.
Or
do
like
this all the
Bye
time.
Bye Bye, even with NSYNC. Like it's just those like one move and everybody's doing it over.
What was the instinct move?
It was the like Bye Bye Bye.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
All right.
Bye.
Flew over my head.
I don't know. I feel like they all had that. Like, yeah, it was
Yeah.
this
Like
little
the-
like, yeah,
Bye, bye, bye.
yeah.
Okay. No, I believe you. I don't think I don't think you're a liar.
Well, thanks for that.
Just wanted to know because I didn't. Anything else that you guys want to talk about the songs
Well,
before we move
yeah,
into the
well,
numbers?
I was before even the numbers though. I mean, literally, we talk about production and whatnot. This was solely filmed, basically here in Southern California. Whether they were using Samberg's house, the forum they used, the wedding scene was filmed at Saddleback Ranch. Mulholland Highway in Malibu. It's a winery that also hosts many weddings at that location. They have exotic animals on the ground. It was
Not
a gorgeous
wolves.
location.
No.
But then the randomness of a giraffe in the background just fit in with the ridiculousness of it all. It's the production designer, Billington. I forget his first name. But when you see that scene, the scene appears more like a wedding scene, but when you have a complete idiot with far too much money and very little taste who wants to propose to his girlfriend, it makes more sense to design it as a celebrity wedding. And it's great that when you have a complete idiot with too much money, like this is what you get. And what was great about the Seal performances, again, it's like, how do you think I got these scars on my face the first time? It's I know how to fight wolves. How do you think? And then he gets so pissed off he's suing because he lost an eye. That to me makes that very funny. I liked how they used these locations like the Forum. Given so many music personalities live in Calabasas, California.
What's really funny to that? When I was watching this movie, I was literally thinking, hey, this looks like a house that you would find in Calabasas.
Calabasas?
And I was just in Calabasas over the weekend. And that literally went through my head with watching this. It was like, they could be in Calabasas right now. And then sure enough, they were.
They're in Calabasas. That's where his house was. Yeah. So that stuff is very, very funny. Sophie Durakoff, the movie's costume designer, she did music videos. So again, everything looked true to form. Like there was nothing that, yes, if this were not a parody and this were a real group, you'd go, oh yeah, okay. You'd buy it.
No.
I think. So there was, again, this is where this movie was very, very spot on.
Absolutely.
So.
I agree. Unfortunately, people just didn't agree. Did not do so well. It was expected to gross around $7 million. Didn't even manage that. It grossed $4.6 million. Yeah.
Wow.
And I'm very upset by this. I'm very upset.
It's very low.
2,311 locations.
That's a crap ton still. Not as much as Turtles, but...
No, it's, in today, it's a half of Turtles, so to speak. It was 75% of the total gross of box office. I don't know what to tell you. When you have a movie that costs $20 million plus 2021, I don't know how much money Universal really put in to market this movie. As far as trailering television, I didn't see many television spots for this movie.
I always saw it in trailers in the movie
Yeah,
theaters.
and I can't even recall what movie I would have seen this trailer on. I saw the poster.
I saw teasers on YouTube a lot.
Yeah.
And again, but you're going after an audience on YouTube, and I don't
Yeah,
think that was
they
the right
went-
strategy necessarily.
They went very cheap, almost as if they didn't know what they had, or whether or not they, maybe they were just thinking of they have other movies coming out this summer. I don't know. It didn't appear as if Universal gave the movie the TLC that had they just pushed it a little more, it might have reached that 7 million they had hoped to get. But, you know, you and I were talking about this a little bit earlier. On Rotten Tomatoes, though, it gets like a 77% or a 76%, which is solid, which is good. It means people like it. However, Cinema Score, I think, was a B.
Yeah.
So,
which I don't understand. You know, why a B? Like, what were people looking for?
Think about who pop music is.
Are they
geared
offended?
toward.
The younger
that's
demographic.
But they're not going to see Popstar. Again, whether it's on their, I'm not even entirely sure if it's on their radar. Like when you look at the demographic, like Taylor Swift's audience.
I think it is on their radar. Like individually, look up all these songs on YouTube. They have millions upon millions of listens.
But
of
is
views.
that because of a college crowd? You know, I just don't think you're getting teenage girls. Number one, it's a very heavy rated R movie. Teenage girls who like Popstar, I don't think it's on their radar. The college crowd, yes, that's why you're getting so much YouTube hit. But they didn't even go out to see this movie.
Well, college is over.
I
so
was going to
as a
say,
group-
yeah, that's an awkward time. If you're aiming for college students, this is not the time of year you would want to have this movie come out because they're all separating from campus and like whatever, doing their own things. It's summer. So it's awkward. Like if that's what you're aiming for, that's probably not ideal.
And again, I got to question its release date. When you have a movie that's going up against tent poles, like, you know, you had Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles open up, you had X-Men still in the marketplace, you have big summer movies that are still playing out. You know, there's a reason why this movie came in at number 8. If you release this, like to your point too, if you release this more in an October-ish, when college is back in session, maybe not put it in the thick of a summer crowd,
or maybe even March when, you know, Coachella is around, you know, and you still have the college audience for that during that time.
Yeah. It just felt like, if you're aiming, because I agree with you, a hard R, like teenage girls are probably not going to.
But even if it were PG-13, I'm still not thinking that teenage girls are going to see Satire on pop music.
Yeah, no, I agree with you there. I think, again, this would have moved up their timeline, but had they done it anywhere between January and March, like that was, we were struggling for movie suggestions during that time. This could have done just well.
It could have. Yeah.
You know?
And with the right amount, again, with the right amount of TLC, you know, I don't even know if there was a push on Saturday Night Live at all for this. Did Lorne Michaels, I didn't see his name in the credits at all. Did he even get a thank you for this? Because usually when his stars go off to make a movie, he has his hand in that cookie jar one way, shape, or form, but I didn't see.
I didn't look into it.
Our engineer just pointed out that Finest Girl debuted on Saturday Night Live. I know that they definitely supported the movie. I don't know how involved production-wise they were.
Yeah, and the SNL performance was early in May. So if you think about it, they did promotion like a month ago, but by a month's time, this movie isn't on people's minds anymore.
Yeah.
That's a long time.
Were they promoting the album or the movie? That's the other thing, too, where I agree with you. Like, I think they put out so much. They put out this album to promote the movie, and that rarely ever works. Like, you put the movie out to promote the album. Like, get people to laugh at the movie, then they're going to go and buy the album more as a comedy album, but they'll laugh at the music afterwards. And let the music be a hit on itself. Don't push the music to be a hit, and then release your movie. Release your movie and have it born from there.
I was also talking to a publicist friend of mine, and she was saying that she thought that this movie could benefit from Andy going out being the character, doing a few interviews as Connor. Like
a la Borat.
Yeah, exactly. Like show up on Access Hollywood as Connor and do it, because that would make people excited about it.
Yeah, I mean, Ben Stiller did that for Derek Zoolander so many times. So,
yeah,
I think that would help.
Mm-hmm.
So there you have it. Well, you know, unfortunately, some people are saying it'll pick up in the home market. I don't know how much that can ultimately bring, but I do think that I think much like with This Is Spinal Tap, it could have. Part of the thing is like there's something to being able to watch it. Like, you know, I don't know, maybe it could have benefited from a day and date. You know, but because there is a rewatchability factor to this, and right now I do want to rewatch it, but the fact that the only way I can do it is to go and see it in a movie, and I don't have the luxury of rewinding, speeding up, going to whatever I want. I don't know.
Well, it's funny that you mentioned that day and date thing. Look, I'm not if this were a day and date movie, I probably wouldn't be on this panel. I'm a very much, theater, see this see this in a movie theater. And not too long ago, Samberg and I'm not sure if it was the same crew, but they did a tennis mockumentary on HBO, which was hysterical. And when I heard about Popstar coming out, now, I mean, it was an HBO show. I believe it was about half hour, 45 minutes long. Very funny, very well done. It's as satirical as this. The jokes pretty much hit. And when I had heard about this, I was like wondering, well, why is this? Like, I thought this would have gone this could have gone the HBO route. But once I saw it in the theater, I was like, oh my God, this movie is much funnier. They put more time and attention into detail for the music, the production design. It looked like a movie to me. Yeah. And the comedy was that very hard R comedy. I appreciated it very much. Like, yes, this is a cinematic, this is a theatrical experience. And if it hits, comedies are some of the best movies to see with a big crowd. When I saw it, though, I was a crowd of 2. And I was sitting in the middle of the theater, and somebody was sitting right up front.
I'm sure they didn't appreciate you in the theater.
They didn't appreciate my laughing. I'm sure they could have been asleep for all I know. But I was laughing. I wish there were more people because comedy is so infectious. And with the right audience, it just makes you laugh harder. And it's such a great experience. So.
I think, I forget where I heard it, but I think the magic number is at least 15. You shouldn't really... I think 15 is like the lowest minimum you want for a comedy.
Interesting.
In terms of an audience. Anyway, I don't know. I could have just made that up, so what do I know? Well, that about does it for us. Thank you guys, as always, for joining us here on Anatomy of Movie. Let us know with this one, let us know your guys' thoughts. What was a funny scene? What was your favorite music? Let us know, did you know pretty much the plot line ahead of time or the music ahead of time? Did it ruin your enjoyment of it? Did it not? Lots to discuss. Lots of questions to mull over that you guys
Did you find it funny? Like, did you,
That's a
were
good
you in
question,
on the
too.
joke? Did you find it funny?
That's right. Are you out, going back to Stephanie's original question, are you someone in this business that found it funny, or are you someone outside of the business that, got a nice view into the business and can have a laugh at it too? In the meantime, Demetri.
Well, hey, folks. Well, again, thanks. Another great panel. You can please support me on Twitter at dmovies1701.
And you can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Stephanie Wenger.
You can follow me on Twitter at Serafini TV.
This is my theme song because I literally think I have incredible thoughts all the motherfucking time. You've already used the F word, so I figured I'd just throw it in one more time.
Because you're so humble.
Because I'm so motherfucking humble.
We didn't
Yes,
answer
you're right.
the question.
What?
Penis or no penis? Dick or no dick?
He has no dick.
There's no dick.
He has no dick.
It was tucked.
It's tucked.
I don't believe it.
I'm going
no
to
man can tuck his penis like that. Okay? That's a fact. That is a fact. Anyway, follow us here at the
say
Pop.
tucked because when that happened, I was like, oh, I don't need to be seeing that. Oh my.
The
That was
other
another
day.
scene.
You would know, Phil.
The other day.
You would know.
Well, we just.
Yes.
Well, on that note.
Follow the Popcorn Talk. Follow us here at Movie Anatomy. We'll be dissecting lots of great movies coming up, whether it's Finding Dory, whether it's Conjuring 2, Star Trek Beyond. We just recently did, obviously, X-Men. We just did Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2. And, of course, there's our entire library of over 250 movies that we've dissected thus far. And for those of you who are X-Men fans, on I Talk Movies, we interviewed John Ottman, not only about X-Men, but also about Nice Guys and his entire journey. So, great interview there. He revealed a lot.
Revealed a lot. Great behind the scenes. If ever you have an aspiration getting into this business, he offered a lot of insight and behind the scenes that you don't normally get.
Yes. And check out Jeffrey Crane Graham's comedy album, which is the reason why I'm surprised he's not here, because he literally loves Lonely Island and he masquerades as a comedy musician. Anyway, thank you guys for joining us. We'll see you next time on Anatomy of Movie.
Bye, all.
From producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the rest of the Anatomy of a Movie staff, we would like to thank you for listening and subscribing to the show. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to email or tweet us. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been Anatomy of a Movie.